show you about 4 ways to make test tiles. The most important thing is to have your test tiles be similar to your work. So if you're doing thrown work, that's, you know, a 1/4 inch or so, you want tiles like that, as opposed to, you know, if it was a 1-inch thick tile, it would absorb the glaze differently. Plus, if you're doing a lot of texture, you want to have that texture reflected in the tile. The easiest way, and the way I do the most, is extrude them, because it's pretty fast. So I've made this die with, it's a cutting board that I've cut, and then I've drawn a tile shape, and then I have cut that out with a jigsaw and file it, put a couple grooves in there. I want some grooves in these tiles so that when the glaze breaks across that groove as it's flowing down, it'll show that. Okay, so you can make a tile like that, and I put it in an extruder. Then I just extrude some, cut that off. And then I usually put them back to back like this because I have a numbering method that I like. The reason I do this is because, first of all, nobody likes to glaze test. We all know that. But if you don't have tiles already bisfired and numbered, you're even less likely to do testing than if you do. So I try to stamp all my numbers on here and have a stack in a box so that anytime I want to do a test, I can just pull it out, dip it, and put it in. I don't have to do anything else, even iron oxide. So I bought this stamp, it's an old-fashioned like accounting stamp, and you just turn it, and then I'll hit 2, 3, 4, like that. And I just keep going down the line. What I usually do is I usually first cut them all. So I'll try to cut them about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. You can make them as wide as you want. I like to have enough room though that I can see some action from the surface, and I need enough height that I get some running, and I can see a thin coat, a medium coat, and a thick coat. Say for instance say I did work that was tiles, flat tiles for a backsplash or something. I wouldn't use this type of a tile method. I would use a flat tile method. So my tiles for that might just be like this. And then I might number them on the back because I want my glaze to pool and lay flat. Whereas if I'm doing vases and stand-up work, I want the action of gravity to pull and see that pull down. Okay, so let me show you how to make this type of tile. It's called I think they call them the mice, test tile mice. You just squeeze a lump of clay and then pound it down. And that gives you a tile, that gives you some grooves and stuff. I don't really like this tile because there's a lot of flat surface here and a lot of sharp edges, and it doesn't really show me a good straightaway. So, but that's a good way to make tiles if you're in a hurry. Or sometimes people will make tiles like this if they have extra clay and they just don't know what to do with it. So that's a decent way for that. So then if you want, say you do slab building and you have texture, the first thing I do is roll my slab out, and I try to get it to the width that I want my pieces to be. And sometimes I'll do that with like 2 sticks. I'll lay them there. That helps. And then I would punch some stamps in there. You can do it also, like if you want them real deep, you can do that. Sometimes I'll use a roulette. If I need to make a whole bunch of them, I'll have a roulette wheel and I'll roll out my slab on a slab roller, hit my roulette, and then do this. You just set it up and then push it down right there. What you mainly want is a tile that stands up and does not tip over. That's why these tiles are good. They will not tip over, and the worst thing that can happen is you put a tile in a kiln and it falls over on your pot. Then you're less likely to do test tiles. So the whole idea is to make an efficient tile that stands up and shows the glaze response well. Okay, and then another method is to throw them. So this tile here has been thrown on the wheel, and these are good if you do a lot of throwing and you like finger marks in the sides instead of a roulette or something. Okay, so now I'm going to throw some test tiles. This would be what I'm making. I'll make a ring like this, and then I'm going to cut it, sort of cut it like this, cut it like that, and then we'll have a tile from that. And I'll show you how to do that. So I usually start with, for this kind of a ring, I would probably do 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds or something. Okay, so then sometimes I'll run my wire through, and rather than trying to run the wire through the whole thing, I'll just hit it right here and then let it go around. And when I get to the spot, I just pull it up. You can even just cut all your tiles like this if you want, but usually I'll wait until they're in this state. When it's leather hard like this, it's a lot easier to get a nice clean line when it's leather hard. So I'll just cut these. And then what I can do is I can also just mark these. Either I can mark them now with like a pencil. So like this one, I could write on here number 4, and I would be, instead of using the stamp. So there's many ways to do it. It's just ways of cataloging. And you have to decide how the best way is for you. Some people don't like to do this, so just use iron, which is fine.